Think about the last time someone hurt you. Maybe they lied to you, betrayed you, disrespected you, or made you feel like you were nothing. That sting, it's unforgettable, isn't it? And in that moment, every part of you wanted to strike back. You wanted them to feel what you felt. You wanted justice. You wanted revenge. But let me tell you something powerful. The greatest revenge is not what you think it is. It's not screaming louder. It's not proving a point in an argument. It's not even making them pay. The best revenge is something they will never see coming, and it leaves them completely powerless. Here's the truth. They expect you to break. They expect you to chase. They expect you to fight back in the same ugly way they came at you. That's their game. But when you choose a different response, when you choose silence instead of chaos, when you choose growth instead of bitterness, when you choose to rise instead of sink, you create a kind of revenge that they cannot escape. Because while they're watching, waiting for you to crumble, you're building, you're sharpening, you're rising higher than they ever imagined. And that eats away at them far more than any words you could ever throw back. People who hurt you thrive on your reaction. The moment you give it, they win. But the moment you take that pain and turn it into progress, you've already beaten them, because nothing shakes a person more than realizing the storm they created in your life only made you stronger, calmer, and more unstoppable. That is the revenge no one can defend against. So let me ask you, what if every hurt you've ever carried wasn't meant to break you, but to build you into something so powerful, so unshakable, that the people who tried to destroy you have no choice but to sit in silence and watch you shine? Wouldn't that be the sweetest revenge of all? When someone wounds you, your first instinct is often to lash out. It's human nature. We want to defend ourselves, to strike back, to make the person who hurt us feel the same pain we're carrying. But here's where real strength begins, not in reaction, but in restraint. Silence and self-control are not signs of weakness. They are the clearest signs of mastery. The moment you learn to control your emotions instead of letting them control you, you step into a level of power most people never reach. Think about it. When someone says something cruel to you, what are they hoping for? They want to rise out of you. They want to see your anger, your tears, your frustration. They want to know they got inside your head and rattled your peace. If you explode, they win. If you break down, they win. But if you stand steady, if you meet their attack with silence, you deny them the satisfaction they came for. And nothing unsettles a person more than realizing they no longer have power over your emotion. Self-control is the weapon that stops you from bleeding energy where it doesn't belong. Anger feels powerful in the moment, but it's actually weakness dressed in adrenaline. When you scream, when you fight, when you lose control, you are handing your enemy the exact thing they wanted from you, your energy. And once your energy is gone, they've won twice. They hurt you and then they made you destroy yourself in the process. That is why silence is so devastating. It is not passive. It is active resistance. It is saying, you will not control me. You will not see me break. You will not steal my focus. Consider the greatest warriors in history. They never wasted time screaming at their enemies. They watched, they studied, they planned, they held back until the right moment. That same principle applies to your life. Every time you resist the temptation to react, you are training yourself for victory. Self-control is a muscle, and every time you exercise it, you grow stronger. Over time, you become unshakable. What used to set you off, what used to make you spiral, now feels small, powerless, unworthy of your attention. And when you reach that level, no insult, no betrayal, no attack can pull you off your path. Silence is powerful because it makes people wonder. When you say nothing, they start asking themselves questions. Did they fail to hurt you? Did you not care? Are you planning something bigger? Your silence creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is more intimidating than any words you could throw back. Words are predictable. Silence is unpredictable, and unpredictability breeds fear. That's why people who hurt you often get more frustrated when you don't respond than when you do, because in that moment, they're forced to face the fact that they didn't have as much control over you as they thought. But silence is not just about them, it's about you. It's about preserving your dignity, your mental clarity, your inner peace. It's about refusing to let anger dictate your decisions. When you hold your tongue, when you breathe through the storm, when you walk away instead of striking back, you are protecting something priceless, your focus. And your focus is the one thing that will build the life you want. Every minute wasted on fighting with people who don't matter is a minute stolen from building a future that does. Now let's be clear. Silence and self-control are not about letting people walk all over you. They're not about tolerating abuse or accepting disrespect. No, they're about choosing the battlefield wisely. They're about understanding that not every fight is worth fighting, not every insult deserves an answer, and not every opponent is even worth your time. Self-control gives you the clarity to decide when to engage and when to walk away. Most of the time, walking away is the smartest choice, because your energy is far too valuable to waste on people who thrive on conflict. When you respond with silence, you're not ignoring what happened, you're choosing a different kind of revenge. You're choosing to build instead of destroy, to strengthen instead of weaken, to move forward instead of staying stuck in a loop of anger. That's the revenge they will never see coming. They expect you to argue, they expect you to fight, they expect you to drown in bitterness. But when you don't give them what they expect, you leave them powerless. Think about the times in your life when you lost control. Did it ever make the situation better? Probably not. If anything, it left you drained, ashamed, or even more hurt. Now think about the times you held back, the times you kept your composure, the times you walked away with your head high. Didn't you feel stronger afterward? That's because silence and self-control put the power back in your hands. And when you have the power, you can choose what kind of future you build. The next time someone tries to get under your skin, remember this. Silence is not about weakness. It's about choosing not to waste your strength. Self-control is not about suppression. It's about strategy. When you refuse to react, you are not losing. You are winning in the only way that matters. You are keeping your dignity, your energy, and your focus intact. And that, more than anything, is the beginning of the sweetest revenge. Every time someone hurts you, they hand you something powerful. It doesn't feel that way in the moment. It feels like pain, like betrayal, like rejection. But underneath the sting, there is energy. Energy is neither good nor bad on its own. It only becomes destructive or productive depending on where you direct it. The problem is, most people waste this energy in anger, in obsession, in proving a point to people who don't even deserve their attention. They replay the betrayal over and over again, feeding it with more and more of their mental space, until they've exhausted themselves. That's the trap. The secret is to take that same energy and redirect it into building yourself into someone unrecognizable from the person they thought they could break. Hurt can either hollow you out or fuel you. It's your choice. When you wake up replaying what they said, when you walk around thinking about what they did, that's energy. You can either pour it into bitterness, which eats you alive, or you can pour it into progress, which makes you unstoppable. Think about it this way. If you can obsess over what someone did to you, you already have the ability to focus. You already have the ability to channel energy into something for long periods of time. You just need to change the target. Instead of obsessing over them, obsess over you. Obsess over building yourself stronger, sharper, more disciplined than you were yesterday. Imagine what would happen if you redirected every ounce of hurt into training your mind, strengthening your body, mastering your craft, building your future. Imagine if every insult became a rep in the gym. Every betrayal became a late night working on your dream. Every rejection became a moment. You studied harder, learned more, or invested in yourself. Suddenly, the energy that once threatened to destroy you is now the same force that builds you. That's how you transform pain into progress. There is a reason some of the strongest people you know have the deepest scars. It's because they refused to waste their pain. They made it pay them back. They let it fuel their late nights, their early mornings, their relentless discipline. They understood that revenge isn't about hurting back. It's about outgrowing. It's about using what was meant to bury you as the very soil that grows you. That's why the best revenge stories aren't about striking back. They're about people who were underestimated, overlooked, rejected, and then rose so high that the people who doubted them could only watch in silence. Directing energy into building yourself starts small. It doesn't have to be some dramatic overnight transformation. It's about turning each moment of pain into a choice. Do you waste this day thinking about them, or do you use this day to take one step closer to your goal? Do you spend the night replaying the betrayal, or do you spend the night mastering a skill that will make you unstoppable? Every single decision you make is a deposit into one of two banks, the bank of bitterness or the bank of growth. And the balance you build in either account will shape your future. What they did to you might have slowed you down, but it doesn't have to define you. If you let it, the hurt can sharpen your focus. The betrayal can harden your discipline. The rejection can fuel your hunger, because here's the truth. Nothing motivates quite like pain. Comfort doesn't push you. Easy days don't demand growth. It's the hard moments, the wounds, the nights you thought you wouldn't survive. Those are the sparks that light a fire inside you. If you let them, and once that fire is burning, no one can put it out but you. But be careful. Redirecting your energy into building yourself doesn't mean trying to prove them wrong. That's still giving them power. It means proving yourself right. It means saying, I will not let your actions decide the limits of my future. I will not let your cruelty dictate my destiny. Because if you only live to prove them wrong, you are still chained to them. But if you live to prove yourself right, you become free. Your energy is no longer tied to them. It's tied to the vision of who you want to become. And that vision is far more powerful than any grudge. You can't stop people from hurting you. That's a part of life. But you can decide what you do with the energy that pain brings. And if you make the choice to redirect it into growth, you become unstoppable. You become someone who doesn't just survive pain. You weaponize it. Every attack makes you stronger. Every rejection makes you hungrier. Every setback makes you sharper. Until eventually the people who once hurt you look at you and realize they didn't break you. They built you. That is the sweetest revenge. Not that they see you angry, not that they hear you scream, but that they watch you thrive while they're still stuck in the same place. That they see you rise higher than they ever imagined. Not because you wasted energy fighting them, but because you used that energy to fight for yourself. And when you reach that level, you'll understand that no one ever truly hurt you. They only handed you the fuel that made you who you are. When someone hurts you, your instinct may be to argue, to defend yourself, or to demand that they recognize the damage they've done. But there is a far more powerful response, one that doesn't waste your words or your energy. Setting boundaries. Boundaries are not about punishing people. They are about protecting yourself. They are invisible lines that guard your peace, your time, your energy, and your dignity. The mistake most people make is thinking that boundaries have to come with noise, fights, long explanations, dramatic exits. They don't. In fact, the strongest boundaries are often silent. They are enforced not with threats but with consistency. Boundaries without drama mean you don't need to announce your every move. You don't need to tell someone, I'm cutting you off, or I'm walking away from this friendship, or I'm no longer letting you treat me this way. You don't need to stage a performance to prove you're serious. Why? Because the moment you over-explain, you invite negotiation. You open the door for arguments, manipulation, or guilt-tripping. But when your boundaries are lived instead of announced, they become undeniable. You simply change your behavior. You stop picking up the phone. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't respect you. You stop saying yes when you mean no. You stop giving second, third, and fourth chances to someone who keeps proving they don't deserve them. Think about it. When a building has security, the guards don't argue with every intruder. They don't spend hours explaining why someone isn't allowed in. They simply block access. They shut the door. They protect what's inside. That's what boundaries do for you. They block access to your energy from those who have proven they will misuse it. And just like a security system doesn't apologize for doing its job, you don't need to apologize for protecting your peace. One of the reasons boundaries are so hard to set is because we're afraid of how people will react. We're afraid they'll get angry, accuse us of being cold, or make us feel guilty. And sometimes they will. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries will always resist when you finally enforce them. They'll call you selfish. They'll call you difficult. They'll even try to paint you as the bad guy. But here's what you have to remember. That reaction is proof that your boundary was necessary. If someone truly values you, they will respect your limits. If someone only valued what they could take from you, they'll fight back when you stop letting them. Their reaction is not a sign you're doing the wrong thing. It's a sign you're finally doing the right one. Boundaries without drama also mean choosing peace over performance. You don't need to slam doors or stage a scene. You don't need to post quotes on social media aimed at the person who hurt you. You don't need to gossip about how badly they treated you. All of that may feel good for a moment, but it's noise, and noise steals your focus. The best revenge is quiet, quietly cutting access, quietly moving on, quietly building a life that no longer includes them. Let your actions speak, not your outbursts. But setting boundaries is not just about keeping harmful people out. It's also about keeping yourself aligned. Boundaries tell you what you will and won't allow. They give you clarity about what matters most to you. When you know your boundaries, decisions become easier. You don't need to debate whether to answer that late-night call from someone toxic. You already know the answer. You don't need to question whether to forgive the same disrespect for the 10th time. You already drew the line. Boundaries simplify your life because they remove confusion. They create a framework for self-respect. And once you respect yourself enough to enforce them, the world learns to respect you too. It's important to remember that boundaries are not walls. Walls shut everyone out. Boundaries filter. They let the right people in and keep the wrong people out. They don't come from bitterness. They come from wisdom. They are not about controlling others. They are about controlling yourself. You cannot control how people treat you, but you can control how close you let them get. That is your responsibility. And when you take that responsibility seriously, you stop being a victim of other people's behavior and start being the protector of your own life. Boundaries without drama require strength, but they also require consistency. You can't set a boundary once and then abandon it when someone pressures you. If you draw a line, you have to stand on it. Otherwise, it's not a boundary, it's a suggestion. And people will test you. They will push. They will see if you mean it. Your job is not to argue or justify. Your job is to calmly repeat the action that enforces the boundary. If you don't want disrespectful conversations, you walk away when they start. If you don't want constant negativity, you stop answering the phone when they call. If you don't want broken promises, you stop giving new chances. No long speeches, no debates, just quiet, consistent action. Over time, you'll notice something incredible. The more you practice boundaries, the lighter you feel. The drama fades, the noise disappears, and your energy returns to you. You begin to see how much of your life was wasted on managing relationships with people who drained you. You start to realize how much space is created for the right people, the ones who respect, support, and value you. Because here's the truth. When you stop giving your time to those who don't deserve it, you finally have time for those who do. Setting boundaries without drama is one of the purest forms of revenge. Not revenge that destroys, but revenge that frees. The people who hurt you will notice that they no longer have access to you. They'll notice the distance, the silence, the absence of your attention. And that will sting far more than any argument ever could. Because the loudest way to show someone they no longer matter is not through words, it's through absence. When you take your presence away, you take your power back. And that is how you win. Not by shouting, not by fighting, but by quietly creating a life where your peace, your dignity, and your future are untouchable. That's the kind of revenge that leaves no scars on you and leaves them with nothing but the silence they earned. The most satisfying revenge you can ever take is not delivered with anger, not with arguments, and not with trying to make someone feel what they made you feel. The most satisfying revenge is success. Success is quiet, it's undeniable, and it's something no one can take away once you've built it. When someone hurts you, they expect you to spiral downward. They expect you to stay stuck, to be distracted, to be broken. They count on the fact that the wound they left will keep you from moving forward. But imagine what happens when, instead of crumbling, you rise. Imagine the shock on their faces when they realize the very thing they tried to use to destroy you became the very reason you became unstoppable. That is the essence of outgrowing people with success. Success's revenge doesn't mean flaunting what you've accomplished in front of them. It doesn't mean you need to prove to them that you made it. Because the moment you live just to prove them wrong, you're still chained to them. Outgrowing them with success means you are so focused on building your life, your vision, and your future that they fade into irrelevance. They become a footnote in your story, not the center of it. The truth is, people who hurt you want your attention. They want to know that you're still thinking about them, still angry, still replaying what they did. But when you redirect all that energy into building something meaningful, you send the loudest message of all: you no longer exist in my world. The beauty of success is that it leaves no room for argument. Words can be twisted, explanations can be dismissed, but results cannot be denied. When you outgrow someone by succeeding, it silences them in a way that nothing else can, because there is no comeback to progress. They can criticize, they can gossip, they can even laugh at you in the beginning, but they cannot laugh forever. The day comes when your results speak louder than their words. And that day is inevitable if you stay consistent. Think about some of the greatest success stories you know. So many of them started with rejection, betrayal, or ridicule. People said they weren't good enough, smart enough, talented enough. People tried to block them, humiliate them, or make them quit. And yet, instead of crumbling, they turned every no into motivation. They worked quietly, they built brick by brick, and they rose so high that the same people who doubted them now have no choice but to watch in silence. That's not just success, that's poetic justice. The secret is this: don't focus on the people who hurt you. Focus on becoming so good they no longer matter. Success is not about chasing validation. It's about creating a reality so fulfilling that their opinions are irrelevant. When you outgrow someone with success, you don't even need to say, "Look at me now." They'll see it whether you want them to or not. The very absence of your attention, combined with the presence of your achievements, becomes the sharpest form of revenge. Outgrowing people with success also requires patience. Growth doesn't happen overnight. It's built in the days you feel like giving up, but don't. It's built in the small, disciplined choices you make when no one is watching. Every workout, every late night of studying, every extra hour of effort, every habit you build, it all adds up. And while the people who hurt you waste their time gossiping or living in the same cycle of negativity, you are stacking wins. You are creating momentum. And one day, that momentum becomes impossible to ignore. The key is to focus on your lane. When you keep checking for their reaction, you slow yourself down. Outgrowing them with success means they are no longer the standard. Your new standard is who you were yesterday. You're not competing with them, you're competing with yourself. You wake up every day asking, how can I be sharper than I was yesterday? How can I build further? How can I rise higher? When that becomes your mindset, success stops being about revenge and starts being about evolution. And ironically, that's when it becomes the most powerful form of revenge, because it's not even about them anymore. Another powerful truth about outgrowing people with success is this: the people who hurt you may never admit it, but your growth will eat at them. They may stay silent, but silence often hides envy. They may act like they don't notice, but deep down, they do. They see the progress, they see the glow, they see the life you're building without them. And that realization that they lost access to you and you didn't just survive but thrived cuts deeper than any words you could ever throw back. There is also a kind of freedom in outgrowing people. Success isn't just financial or professional, it's emotional. It's being so grounded, so fulfilled that you don't need revenge anymore. You don't need validation. You don't need closure from the ones who hurt you. Your growth becomes your closure. Your peace becomes your victory. That is the highest form of success. When you look back at what once wounded you and realize it no longer defines you, it only refined you. So when you think about revenge, stop thinking about payback. Stop thinking about arguments or proving a point. Instead, think about the life you're building. Think about becoming so strong, so disciplined, so fulfilled that the people who hurt you vanish into the background of your story. Let them watch, let them wonder, let them sit in the discomfort of knowing they had a chance to break you and failed. That is what outgrowing someone with success feels like. In the end, the sweetest revenge is not in making them hurt. It's in making yourself whole. It's in rising so high that they can't even reach you anymore. They become a chapter you've outgrown while you continue writing new pages filled with growth, strength, and victory. That's not just success, that's freedom. And that is the kind of revenge no one can ever take away from you. Forgiveness is one of the hardest things you will ever do in your life, especially when it involves people who have cut you the deepest. When someone hurts you, betrays you, or disrespects you, every fiber of your being wants to hold on to that pain. It feels like the only way to keep yourself safe is to never let it go. You convince yourself that if you forgive, it means they win. It means you're weak. It means what they did to you didn't matter. But the truth is the exact opposite. Forgiveness is not about letting them off the hook. It's about setting yourself free from the grip of what they did. Because the longer you hold on to anger, resentment, or the desire to see them pay, the more they continue to control you long after they're gone. Forgiveness is not for them. It's for you. Think about it. When you replay the hurt over and over in your mind, who's suffering? Not them, you. When you sit awake at night, fuming, imagining what you wish you could say, who's losing sleep? Not them, you. When you allow bitterness to take root in your heart, who's paying the price? Not them, you. Forgiveness is not about making excuses for their behavior. It's about refusing to let their behavior live rent-free in your head. It's about choosing peace over poison. Because unforgiveness is like drinking a glass of poison and expecting the other person to die. You keep swallowing the bitterness, but the only one getting weaker is you. Now let's be real. Choosing forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean you give people access to hurt you again. It doesn't mean you pretend it didn't happen. What it means is you release the emotional chain binding you to that person. You cut the cord that ties your present and your future to the wound of the past. You take back your power by saying, what you did was wrong, but it no longer defines me. I will not let your actions dictate my peace. That is strength. That is freedom. Forgiveness requires courage because it forces you to face your pain instead of masking it with anger. Anyone can lash out. Anyone can plot revenge. But it takes a strong person to say, I will not let this wound rule me. Forgiveness is not a one-time act, either. Sometimes it's a process. Sometimes you'll wake up and the anger feels gone, and then the next day it sneaks back in. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human. Forgiveness is a decision you may have to keep making until the weight finally lifts for good. And when it does, you'll feel lighter, freer, and stronger than you ever imagined. The greatest revenge isn't proving someone wrong, it's living a life where they no longer even cross your mind. Forgiveness gives you that gift. Imagine running a race while carrying a heavy backpack filled with rocks. That's what unforgiveness is like. You're trying to move forward, but you're weighed down by everything someone else did to you. Forgiveness is putting the backpack down. It's saying, I don't need to carry this anymore. Suddenly your steps feel lighter. Your vision gets clearer, and your energy flows toward building the life you deserve instead of reliving the pain they caused. Some of the most successful, peaceful, and unshakable people in the world are those who have mastered forgiveness. They've learned that bitterness only chains you to the past, while forgiveness opens the door to your future. People may never apologize. They may never acknowledge the damage they caused. They may even continue living as if they did nothing wrong. But that's not your battle to fight. That's theirs. Life has a way of dealing with people, and you don't have to be the one to carry that burden. Your only responsibility is to protect your peace, to guard your spirit, and to free yourself from the prison of resentment. Forgiving doesn't make you weak, it makes you untouchable. Because the moment you let go of what they did, they lose all power over you. They can no longer trigger you, no longer control you, no longer haunt you. You step into a place where their name, their actions, their betrayal no longer stirs anger inside you. It stirs nothing at all. And that nothingness, that indifference, is the loudest message you could ever send. It says, you no longer matter. I've risen above you. I've moved on. You see, the people who hurt you expect you to carry that pain forever. They expect you to stay angry, to stay bitter, to stay stuck in the cycle. But when you forgive, you shatter their expectations. You prove that their actions did not break you, they refined you. You show that what was meant to crush you has only made you more resilient, more peaceful, and more unstoppable. That is the best revenge you could ever have. So the next time you feel yourself clinging to anger, ask yourself, who is this hurting me or them? And the moment you realize that you're the one paying the price, make the decision to forgive. Not for their sake, not to excuse them, but to free yourself. Because at the end of the day, forgiveness is not a gift you give to someone else. It's the most powerful gift you will ever give to yourself. When people hurt you, the easiest thing to do is to lash out, to fight back, to prove a point. But the strongest thing you can ever do is to rise above it all and take back control of your life. Silence and self-control keep you grounded. Redirecting your energy builds you into someone stronger than they ever expected. Setting boundaries without drama protects your peace. Outgrowing them with success forces them to watch you shine from the sidelines. And forgiving, not for them, but for yourself, sets you free from the chains of bitterness. This is the real revenge. Not loud, not messy, not destructive. The best revenge is transformation. The best revenge is becoming so strong, so grounded, and so focused that their attempts to break you look laughable in comparison to the life you've built. Your growth, your peace, your success, and your freedom, that's what hurts them the most. So don't waste your time plotting how to hurt them back. Don't waste your energy replaying the past. Channel it into building the life they'll never have the power to touch. Because at the end of the day, nothing silences your enemies more than watching you rise, unstoppable, untouchable, and unshaken. Walk away from the pain with your head high. Protect your peace. Guard your energy. And remember this, the sweetest revenge is not proving them wrong. It's living so well that you no longer need